Hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel of The English Adda. Today we are going to look at life and works of Ernest Hemingway. We'll look at his life and we'll study some of his important works. He was a master storyteller, a great novelist, and one of the legends of American literature. He was born on July 21, 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois. His father was Edmund Hemingway, who was a physician, and his mother was Grace Hall Hemingway, who was a musician. His writing career started early on as reporter of a local newspaper, the Kansas City. He was greatly influenced by the style guide of the Kansas City, which emphasized on use of short sentences, short first paragraphs, use of vigorous English, and use of a lot of positive sentences. This style guide was to shape the writing career of Hemingway. He developed a style of writing known as the Iceberg Theory or the theory of omission. This style of writing is very minimalistic. It focuses on the surface elements without discussing in details the underlying themes and other complex details related to the event or the character. He developed this style while working on the short story Out of Season, and he has spoken about this theory of omission in his essay The Art of the Short Story. He summed up Iceberg Theory in these lines: a few things I have found to be true. If you leave out important things or events that you know about, the story isn't strengthened. If you leave or skip something because you do not know it, the story will be useless. Since he was a master storyteller, he has penned numerous short stories. His two short story volumes are Men Without Women and The Fifth Column and the First 49 Stories. The Fifth Column and the First 49 Stories, it has his only full-length play, which is titled The Fifth Column. And this volume also has 49 short stories, and together it is titled The Fifth Column and the First 49 Stories. Some of his popular short stories are The Indian Camp, The End of Something, Big Two-Hearted River, The Green Hills of Africa, The Snows of Kilimanjaro, The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber. Indian Camp is his very popular short story, and it has these memorable lines. In the early morning on the lake, sitting in the stern of the boat with his father rowing, he felt quite sure he would never die. His another popular short story is Hills Like White Elephant. On the surface, this story is about mundane conversation between two passengers who are on board a train headed to Madrid. Hemingway is also the creator of semi-autobiographical character Nick Adams. Nick Adams appears in many of his short stories. Some of these short stories in which Nick Adams makes an appearance are Indian Camp, 10 Indians, The Indians Moved Away, 3 Shots, The End of Something, The Last Good Country, Crossing the Mississippi, Night Before Landing, The Summer People, An Alpine Idyll, Fathers and Sons, and The Wedding Day, The Light of the World in Another Country. Let's look at Hemingway as a person. He was a very adventurous person. He was a sports person who was really fond of sports, and he also enjoyed going on expeditions with his literary friends, which include James Joyce, Ezra Pound, and others. And he was also enamored by fishing. He was introduced to fishing at a very young age by his father, and he used to go to fishing with his father, and you will find fishing and details related to it appear in many of his short stories and novels. He also bought a boat in 1934, and he named it the Pillar, and he began sailing to Caribbean using it. So that speaks volumes about his love for exploration and adventure. He was married 4 times, hard to believe, but yes, true. And he also had many crushes, and he was infatuated with many, women in his life. It was difficult for him to find contentment in relationship, and he could not settle in any relationship for very long. And he was also part of First World War. He was part of the ambulance unit in the Italian army. He volunteered for that, and during the First World War he was badly wounded, and it took him quite some time to recover from that. And he also covered Spanish Civil War, which started in 1936 and ended in 1939. So he had used his personal experience with the war in many of his works, because he had seen the horrors of wars firsthand, and he was completely disillusioned with that, like other members of the lost generation. I told you that he's tried his hand at writing play only once, and his play is titled The Fifth Column. He has also written a memoir titled A Movable Feast, which was published after his death, that is posthumously, in 1964. In 1953, he received Pulitzer Prize, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. Now, he had a stellar career, he lived an adventurous life, but no one could imagine that a legend like him would commit suicide. So he committed suicide on July 2, 1961, and left for the heavenly abode. Some of his important works include In Our Time, which is a short story collection, and his first popular novel was The Sun Also Rises. Then he wrote To Have and Have Not, followed by A Farewell to Arms. Then came For Whom the Bell Tolls, and finally his masterpiece The Old Man and the Sea. Let's look at the chronology of these works. In Our Short Time, which is a story collection, was published in 1925. His first novel, popular novel, The Sun Also Rises, came out in 1926. And in the same decade, in 1929, came out A Farewell to Arms. Then, in 1937, was published To Have and Have Not. And in 1940s, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And finally, his masterpiece got published in 1952, The Old Man and the Sea, which is a novella. Let's look at some of his popular novels at a glance. The Sun Also Rises. This novel does have a lot of details about bulls and bullfighting. It portrays lives of American and British expatriates who traveled from Paris to the festival of San Fermin to watch bullfights. Now, this festival is celebrated with a lot of pomp and show. It has a lot of excitement going on, and the protagonist, they go to, be part of this festival. Then we have A Farewell to Arms. It is the setting is Italian campaign during World War One. It tells story of Frederick Henry, who was serving as a lieutenant in the ambulance corps of the Italian army. This novel is semi-autobiographical in nature, and many characters in this novel, they were actually part of Hemingway's life and friend circle. Then To Have and Have Not, it is set in United States with Great Depression of 1930s at the backdrop. This novel, it traces story of Harry Morgan, who was a fishing boat captain out of Key West, Florida. And the Great Depression of 1930s led him to face a lot of economic turmoil in his life. And because of that, he had to turn towards crime so that he could really survive in the Great Depression. Then came For Whom the Bell Tolls. It is story of a young American volunteer, Robert Jordan, who was attached to Republican guerrilla unit during the Spanish Civil War. It speaks of the horrors of the wars, and it has a heart-wrenching narrative. And finally, his masterpiece, The Old Man and the Sea, which is a classic. It is set in Gulf Stream off the coast of Cuba. It tells story of an old man, Santiago, a young boy who was really fond of Santiago Manolin, and the giant fish which Santiago finally caught, the giant fish named Merlin. Thus, The Old Man in the City, it is not only a story of Santiago and the giant fish Marlin, but it is also a story of the indomitable human spirit, which is never defeated by the harsh circumstances of life. This brings me to the end of this brief session. Thank you so much for joining us.